Today we're going to be talking about how rep systems work, how light is too light for a second rower, and steps to get better at defense. Welcome to episode 76 of Run It Straight. First question, can you please explain the steps of moving up to NRL, such as Harold Matts, SG Ball, Jersey Flegg? Okay. So, Harold Matts is under 17s. The people that are eligible for Harold Matts selection are boys that have played under, boys and girls, because you got Tasha Yale and Harvey Norman.
And Lisa Fiola is the younger one.
So anyone eligible for 17s played under 15s or 16s the year before. They're the ones that get picked in the under 17s. It's a bit confusing because obviously the rep season starts in February of the next year. So the under 16s boys become under 17s, the under 15s become under 16s. So if you want to play Harold Matts, which is under 17s, to be eligible you need to play under 15s and under 16s. SG Ball is under 19s, or Mal Meninga up in Queensland. It's the players that are in under 17s and under 18s that are eligible for that. And then Jersey Flegg is under 21s. And basically, like sometimes you even see 18-year-olds get picked in that.
Yep.
So Jersey Flegg is just if you're older, I think you have to be 18, but so 18s, 19s, 20s, 21s. It's sort of those four-year age groups if you're good enough. So, we've had some players do it. They might play their SG Ball season, and then as soon as that SG Ball season's done, they may roll straight into playing Jersey Flegg that year. Now, those are the steps we get up to Jersey Flegg. Then at Jersey Flegg, you might have 2-3 years of eligibility there, under 21s. At the end of that, under 21s, they will either look at offering you a New South Wales Cup, or if you're up in Queensland, a Queensland Cup contract, or not. If they do, great, you go into the system as a Cup player. If not, then basically sort of the alternate pathway is Sydney Shield and Ron Massey. Now, if we wind that all back, making a Harold Matts side, how do you actually go about doing it? Well, we've talked how to make reps so many times.
Yep.
Most rep sides, there's a good chunk of those rep sides that are picked before the trial because the selectors are there. They're watching the players all throughout the year. They've got an idea of, if they're going to pick a squad of 35 players, they'll have an idea of 15 or 20 or maybe even 25 players that they want to pick because they've watched week in, week out. They know who the good performers are. When they have those selection trials, they may just be looking for 10 or 15 players to fill some of the gaps that they see in their squad. Now, not every single club will have open trials. Some of them you can just apply and you can trial. Some of them you apply and then they filter through all of those applications, and depending how good your resume is will determine whether you get to trial. Other ones you're not even allowed to apply. They just invite some people, and there's even some clubs that don't even have trials. They just literally pick from looking at who's played there in their comp this year, who's played well, and then players that they've picked previously. I don't think at the moment, I don't think the Roosters have.
No, they will all invite only if they did, or they will pick beforehand.
Yep. And it's the same sort of thing for SG Ball, and there's even less that have trials for Flegg. Usually by that point they kind of know who it is that they want to be picking. Some do have trials, and there are alternate pathways. Like we said, if you miss out on SG Ball, and if you played under 18s, we've had 3 or 4 boys that have gone on and played Sydney Shield in the same year after missing SG Ball, which means they were definitely good enough to play SG. Just so happened, whatever they didn't trial well, or they were trialing at a club, at a junior, let's say Dragons, but they don't play in the Dragons comp. Maybe they played in the Cronulla comp. So the Dragons people, they hadn't seen them play week in, week out and do a good job. So it just makes it a lot harder. You've got to trial really well to make it under those circumstances. Is there anything that I kind of really missed on that one?
No. There's, if you are in the country, at least for country New South Wales, you've also got Andrew Johns, which is under 16, so that year before Harold Matts, and then Laurie Daly, which is under 18, so that year before SG Ball. Central Coast have a team, Newcastle have a team, Canberra have a couple teams under Monaro and the Riverina region. They can feed into Canberra. So if you're around those areas, you probably have 4 good years of junior reps and getting yourself exposed to the system and the training demands and things like that.
And look, there's scouts everywhere.
There are.
Okay, look, we've worked with several player managers over the time we've had the academy, and they all have people that are in all of these regional areas that are in, regional New South Wales, regional Queensland, up and down the coast, who tell them when. So whenever people are, we often get parents, does he need to get a manager to help get into a rep side? It's like, honestly, he needs to be good enough where he's starting to get approached by managers, where people see, there's that kid, does he have a manager? And that's kind of what happens. You can get a manager. Sometimes you'll get someone who'll do something for you. There are unfortunately some who they'll just try and sign 100 kids, and then they'll sit there and wait for 2 or 3 of them to come good, and they won't really do much for you. And then there's others who will be very, very picky and selective. But when they do sign you, they'll really break their back to try and create opportunities for you. But the best thing that you need to do is just work. You just need to become as good a player as you possibly can. And then you need to play good football. If you play good football, opportunities will open up for you.
100%.
Next question. Is 83 kilos too light for a second rower? 19 years old, 180 centimetres, 17% body fat at 83 kilos. Cal?
So I'll chuck an average weight of the NRL second rower is 104. So
well, he's only, he's 19.
He's 19. All right, you're 19. I'll give you some benefit of the doubt. But the average weight of the NRL second rower, again, it's second row, so there's various size differences.
Let's compare him, say, to SG Ball as an SG Ball second rower. You're probably looking
I still think a little bit too light.
Oh yeah. Look, you're probably looking at, I would say, 88 to probably 94 kilos would be the right kind of weight for that. So you're still and look, 17% is like. That's where a lot of second rowers could be sitting, between 15, 16, 17%. That's not so much of an issue. But 83 kilos could be an issue. And look, we're not saying that there aren't outliers and some people who can do really well at that weight. But just as you get a little bit further up, everyone is just bigger and faster and stronger, and so you kind of need to be strong enough to be able to handle that. Like we would say someone who's a little light, who could still be a good footballer, they might be 80, 89 or 90 kilos. But 83 that's pushing it. You need to get in the gym and you need to lift. We've got to add on some size.
100%. 100%.
Next question, what's the best type of training to get better in defence? So I'll start off on this one, then you can say a bit.
100%.
Look, there's 4 key factors that I would say that you need to be working on. There's 2 which are sort of primary and they're the most important, and then there's a couple of secondary that they can be position specific, and whilst they're still important, they won't make any difference at all if the first 2 aren't right. Okay, so the first, number 1, is your physical capability. Speed, agility, strength, and reaction time. You need to be able to get to the point on a field to actually make a tackle, right? It's no good having the best tackle technique in the world if you're too slow to get close enough to someone to tackle them, right? Because remember, they're not just going to run at you perfectly on that right shoulder, so then you can have the really quick dip and then drive up and under the ribs. They're going to try to avoid you. So you need to have, and I'm not saying you need to be a sprinter, but you need to have enough speed, acceleration, change of direction, and reaction time to whatever position you're playing to be able to track your opposition and then get yourself in a position to be able to make contact and make a tackle. So that's the first thing. Like we've got guys who, you have someone run dead straight at them and they can put a great hit on, but then in the game they're just getting stepped left, right and centre. They're not putting people on shoulders, their footwork is poor, and they move up, maybe they gas out, they fatigue really quickly because they're bigger boys. If you run dead straight, they'll stop you in their tracks, but particularly as you get further up, people get smarter about how they run. So that would be my first one. The second one is your tackle technique. Okay, again, there's no point getting in the right position if you can't tackle. So solid contact skills and contact confidence are massive. This means both front on and side on cutting tackles. Now, cutting tackles, it could be from hip to knee or it could be from knee down to the ground. Remember, you're not doing knee down to the ground when it's third man in, but you can make a cutting tackle on that area of the body. That's perfectly fine. Then you're looking at torso tackles, whether you're coming under the ball, hitting around the belly, or whether you're coming and you're hitting up around chest height. You need to be able to execute a 2-man tackle or a 3-man tackle effectively. So that's really those second. First, you need to be able to get in a position to make a tackle. Second, you need to be confident with those different forms of tackle technique and confident and competent in those. Now, the other 2, or the secondary areas that I said, is decision making. So knowing where to be and when to be there. This can change significantly depending on, if you're defending in the middle or if you're defending on an edge like a second rower or a centre or a winger. They got a lot of different things that they need to do as far as making decisions, as opposed to if you're just in the middle, it's a lot simpler. And the last piece of the puzzle is communication. Again, if you're in the middle, you still need to be communicating, but it's not as complicated as if you're a half or a centre or a winger. if your communication is off, things can go really bad really quickly out there, and there's no ability to recover. Whereas around the middle, there's more bodies and there's generally a little bit more time, and also the attackers don't tend to be as fast, so you can recover from that. Cal.
Yeah. So pretty much spot on with everything. Just making sure. Again, defense, I find something is more about intent. So if you want to get up and hit someone, 9 times out of 10, the tackle's going to come off because you have that intent to go up and hit them. But then if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of the actual tackle, making sure you're in nice and tight, your head's in tight, you're controlling them to the ground, you're getting a good squeeze on, putting them on their back, line speed, all that can come into factor with making a good tackle, right? In terms of practicing it, if you have a mate, you can get a mate.
Reps.
Just get reps in on him. Doesn't even have to be full on. You can run 70, 80%, something where you can actually hit him and drive him back, and then control him to the ground. If they have a hit shield, even better. You can go 100% on that without hurting him or hurting yourself. Even if you don't have a mate, you can have a boxing bag or something that's to work on the dip. You just have something set a little bit low so you can work at dipping under and coming back up. Your footwork into the tackle, you can almost get off a line and then practice short feet into a step and practice that dip up and then do that for a couple reps. So there's plenty of things you can do around, especially your footwork in defense if you don't have anyone. But then if you've got a mate, a dad, a brother, if your sister wants to get hit by you as well in a tackle, you can grab your sister as well if she's willing. But again, there's plenty of ways you can do it without someone and with someone. You just have to find what to do. But as I said, there's plenty of things like your footwork and first up contact.
And like we've said, so often we say it every single episode, when it comes to skill, you just need to be doing reps and reps and reps and reps so that you can develop the neural pathways and that muscle memory so it becomes automatic during a game. You don't have to think, dip and drive, dip and drive. You've been thinking that, doing your reps, dip and drive, dip and drive, dip and drive until you stop saying it, and then you're still dipping and driving while you're training. And then in a game, you can use your brain for thinking, who am I tracking, who's getting the ball, it's that guy, and then automatically the dip and drive happens on its own.
You can go on YouTube and search up any NRL team training. The Roosters have put a fair few up from their last preseason. They do reps on reps of just low cutting tackles, hitting under the ball, hitting over the ball, 2 tackles, fancy. 3 on 1. It's not fancy. It's just they're in a controlled environment where it's about a 5 meter space between the attacker and defender. They're going around 80%, so no one's at risk of getting injured, and they just get those reps in. They're probably one of the better defensive focused teams within the comp in terms of how they move and how they're structured them. But I'm sure Melbourne are notorious for all their wrestling techniques.
Similar,
Penrith, everyone does.
The old saying, skills pay the bills.
Yeah.
And that's the last question.
That's done.
All right, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I got it. Write comments in the comments section because that's what the comments section is for. If you want to go a little bit more in depth, you can jump over to Instagram and send me a DM. I answer all of those personally. That is me. That's not a bot that does it. Other than that, we will see you in the next one.